Rainbow Reflections, Book 2, Put Out the Fire, Chapter 22, Need to Find Some Answers. Ren was shocked after hearing how Sarala had been attacked and how she had mysteriously vanished alongside Fern. She had been tempted to call the government herself to ask for an official search and rescue mission, but her father had other plans and did not want the government involved. The family was grouped together in the tower, Hyaktu sitting on the floor with a hand over half of his face, and Ren pacing in front of him. Zin watched from the couch quietly. "The government can help us find Sarala!" Ren wailed, clutching her hair tightly. "Why can't we call them?" "Because they won't actually look for Sarala or Fern," Hyaktu replied with a grimace, rubbing his eyes. "They will pretend to look, then come back to shut us down for good. They don't care about any of the people here." "But what about Sarala and Fern? We have to look for them," Zin uttered. Hyaktu nodded, replying firmly, "I have already asked Jabali to search. Tomorrow I'll leave the school myself to join him, as it's Seder Day. The martial arts club is cancelled tomorrow, okay? Khurshid will be in charge until I'm back on Moon Day." The weekend contained the slowest days ever. Ren and Zin agonized in the tower, unable to focus on or care about their homework as they paced the family room. Neither of them spoke much to each other, apart from reminding one another to eat. The family mirror lay on the small round table the entire time, the twins ready to answer any call to come through, but it never made noise. Ren tried to meditate a few times, wondering if she could connect to Sarala through the spirit realm or gain more information on her whereabouts. However, each attempt failed. March 7th arrived, Hyaktu returning to the school alone at dawn. He entered the family room, the ceiling light turning on as it detected his movement. Ren and Zin, asleep on the couch and the floor, woke up at once. "Dad!" Ren yelped, hopping off the sofa and bounding to her father's side. "Where's Sarala?" Hyaktu shook his head, dark marks under his eyes. "I'm not sure," he murmured. Ren cried out in distress, Zin rushing forward to hug her. "We didn't get to check too much of the forest in only 2 days, though," Hyaktu went on, raking his hands through his hair. "I'm hoping Jabali will have more luck as he continues his search." "So what now?" Zin asked numbly. Hyaktu stared at his kids, his eyes glistening. Then he collapsed to the floor, burying his face in his hands and shaking his head. "I don't know," he uttered as silence fell. "I have to find Sarala, and Fern and Aster, but I can't afford to leave the school when classes are in session, when the government is so ready to shut us down." "But Fern isn't here to teach classes," Ren pointed out, sniffling lightly as her heart sank further in her chest. "Yeah, what are you gonna tell students when they know she's gone?" Zin scoffed. "That she's sick? What about Sarala? You can't say they're both sick. You can't cover this up." Hyaktu sighed and peered up at them, his face wet. Ren's heart now felt like it was being stabbed by multiple knives, and she wanted to hug her father. "I know," he murmured. "While I can say that both are sick and need to be hospitalized in Vinetown, it would look suspicious, and I don't know enough about plants and potions to take over for Fern's classes. Not to mention, we don't have a healer on site with Fern missing." He took a deep breath, then got to his feet shakily. "I'm going to tell Khurshid the students will have a week-long break, so I can continue searching for Sarala with Jabali. I'll tell him that Mint can be the stand-in healer for now, should any minor injuries occur. We'll try to keep the school open, but... Anyhow, I'm going to write a transfer of ownership before I go back out." The twins stared at their father. Then Ren mumbled, "Are you sure, Dad? You're not going to fight for the school?" He shook his head gruffly. "No, I have more important people to fight for. Khurshid can have the school after this year. I can't handle this. I'm choosing my family, not some school." Hyaktu then exited the tower without another word, Ren letting out a stifled choke as he left in defeat. She glanced at Zin, who merely blinked several times wordlessly. Silence engulfed them, the twins still embracing. "I wish I knew where Sarala was," Ren finally mumbled, more to break the quiet than to make conversation. "Or at least if she was okay." "Why don't you try meditating into the spirit realm for answers?" Zin suggested, "to see if you can find Sarala." Ren sighed and pointed out, "I tried already, but I just can't connect. Just keep trying, Zin urged her. Maybe all the stress and anxiety was getting in the way. But now that it's been like 2 or 3 days, maybe your body is more settled down and you'll be able to connect? Ren perked up at this. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I was just too shocked to connect. Zin grinned at her and released their hold. I'll get us some breakfast then. I'll be right back. Good luck. Ren watched them dart from the room, smiling softly. Thanks, Zin, she thought. She got to her feet and went up to her bedroom, where she would feel more aligned with herself. The space was also clear of the negative and stressed energy that the family room contained over the weekend. Sitting on the rug at the end of her bed and closing her eyes, it took several minutes to settle her mind, especially as some of the noisier plants were distracting. One plant was hopping around and making all sorts of rattling sounds with its potted seeds. Once she was relaxed, she focused on Sorella's image in her mind's eye. She could clearly see Sorella's almond-shaped golden eyes, her hooked nose, her square jaw, her long brown hair. I need to find Sorella. I need to know if Sorella is okay. Please help me find her. Please. But nothing happened. She opened her eyes to find that she was still in her room, the potted plant hopping around like an enchanted maraca. If I'm a spirit, then I can connect to Sorella, she told herself firmly, closing her eyes again. Let me connect to Sorella. Let me see her. Ren brought several scenes to her mind, trying to make a clearer picture of Sorella. She replayed their first kiss on the bench, the many times they did martial arts, Sorella stealing Ren's bread, walking to class together. A buzzing sounded around her, but Ren ignored it. She didn't want a repeat of the last meditation, where she knew she was in a meditation and therefore came out of it. She continued to focus on Sorella's images flashing through her mind, until the droning became so loud that she had to open her eyes. The humming stopped at once, finding Ren in a yellowish fog. She glanced up and recognized the hanging vines from her previous meditation. They reminded her of the orange vine that had tried to take Sorella away. Closing her eyes again, she focused on Sorella, not wanting to be expelled from the location. Yet when she opened her eyes, she saw with relief that she was still there. And the murky mist was starting to settle, allowing her to see more. Ren found herself in a vast clearing, surrounded by tall and thick trees, their branches crossing over one another that it was hard to tell one tree apart from the other. The trees were covered in thick vines that wrapped tightly around them, from the uppermost branches to the tangled roots. Ren felt a chill run down her spine at the sight of them. Not a single leaf sat on the slimy-looking trees. She concentrated her attention on the clearing, frowning as she saw pink-spotted mushrooms to her left, on the lower end of the slope. In the center, directly ahead of her, was a purple tree with eyes. A watching tree. Ren held her breath as she caught sight of the plant. Those things creep me out, she thought, shifting uneasily. She forced her eyes off the tree, hoping it couldn't see her. Scanning the right side of the clearing, she realized that the trees at the top of the slope were slightly different from the others. The vines on these plants were glowing bright blue, and they weren't just wrapped around the bark. Sorella! Ren gasped, her eyes widening. Sorella was curled tightly beneath the vines, her body completely concealed and her head barely visible. Her skin appeared azure, due to the light cast from the vines. Ren couldn't see her face from afar, but the girl appeared unconscious and sickly. Sorella, wake up! Ren screamed. She tried to get to her feet, but she was stuck in place, unable to even stretch her arms. She rocked her body back and forth, trying to roll forward if she had to, but nothing worked, and the clearing soon faded from sight, to be replaced by the spotted and striped plants of her room. No! Ren yowled. Sorella!